Hey Leo, so this is your not bi-weekly, this is your monthly reading for the month of September 2023. This is a more extended reading of the readings that I do monthly. So if you're kind of new here, just so you know, I have shorter bi-weekly videos that go from moon to moon. This is looking at the overall theme of the month, how the month is unfolding, so beginning, middle, and end of the month, and any kinds of challenge, like a prominent challenge that's occurring for the month overall. Actually, I feel like this is here. There we go. Here, here, and here. Okay. Well, that was pretty straightforward. So we're looking at challenge, like how the month is unfolding, also challenge, and also any kind of spiritual advice or divinatory guidance that we can speak of, right? So what area of life is this being drawn towards? By the way, if I didn't say already, this is for Leo, Sun, or Rising signs. It's a collective reading, so if this resonates with you, awesome, it's your message, perfect, awesome. If you're feeling like, it's not so much and this is your sun sign, go check out your rising sign. But ultimately, if you really want to get specific and granular about what it is for you, one-to-one readings are the best way to do that. And you can find that information down below. So for this month, we are looking at the third house is coming into focus for you, Leo. So this is about, yes, communication, as the card says, which is awesome. That would be verbal, like vocal communication, your thoughts also, but also your written word communication. This is also about your siblings, and any sibling-like people in your life. So maybe extended family, but also friends that feel like a brother or a sister to you, like that kind of closeness, right? And also it has to do with your local community, not your larger community in the sense of like the 11th house, but more so like this is where you go to get your eggs from the local farmer if you live in that particular way, or like a more related to like a larger city. This would be like where you go to Whole Foods or where you go to Costco, or it's like you go to certain places to get certain supplies and you might start to recognize the cashiers. It's like, who do you interact with in your local community, your local neighborhoods, your neighbors, right? So this is that area. So I'd like to give all of the different kinds of examples so that you have a sense of, you know, who we're talking to, especially because this is a collective reading and I'm not sitting one-to-one with you. I'd like to give you as many options as possible so you can see like where this actually relates, right? So that's the area of focus that we're going to bring this entire reading into. By the way, this is actually one of my favorite cards in this deck. So we start out the beginning of the month. They're cut into thirds, right? So beginning of the month is the Queen of Laurels. For those of you who are familiar with the tarot, that would be the earth suit, so that would be pentacles or coins. The middle of the month is the 10 of laurels. The high priestess is how we round out the end of the month. Challenge being the ace of swords, which I find very interesting. And then the lovers card being the spiritual advice that's actually coming through. Now, given the fact that we're talking about communication or those sibling-like characters or your local community and neighbors and that kind of thing, it'll be interesting to see like how this feels like it could relate, because I could see this actually being a little bit more broad than some of the other houses. But let's start off with the Queen of Laurels. Like I said, this is actually one of my favorite illustrated cards in the deck. So Queen of Laurels, you know, she is really all about hearth and home. Interesting, because we are talking about that kind of very close-knitted local, you know, it's like a, oh God, what is that saying? It's like locally minded kind of community, right? And so when we're looking at the Queen of Laurels, it's like she is about hearth and home. She is welcoming. She is about nurturing and nourishing. And how do I create a sense of groundedness and stability and safety? Solidity, secure kind of vibes, right? Like that's what she's about. So, you know, she would be the one who, yeah, you could say maybe feels like mother. She feels maternal, but in this really welcoming and warm way, right? And so I don't know whether you are actually focused on your home. Maybe for some of you, you've actually had a bairn recently. You've had a child come into your life or something like that, but maybe not. but it does have this kind of like very nourishing kind of motherly type of quality. So maybe you are focused on how can you make your close-knit experience feel more connected and to be tapped into these kinds of energies. How can you make it feel more nourishing and nurturing in your communication, in your interactions, in those kinds of ways, right? We come into the 10 of Laurels in the middle third of the month. And, you know, also, like I meant to say too, when we're looking at the earth suit, we are looking at not just what is tangible and solid, yes, physical places, physical things that we own and whatnot, and finances even, but we're also looking at, do you guys hear that? There's something under my house. Sometimes animals get under there. So, okay. For a second, I thought that was my front door. So when we're looking at this, it's like we are looking at the tangible and yes, maybe financial, but we are also looking at values and what we value. More so even with this card, because when we're looking at the 10 of Laurels, this is about, you know, the legacy that we're creating for ourselves or our loved ones, right? And also, it doesn't necessarily have to be like you're leaving a legacy through having children, but it could be the legacy that you're creating for yourself or for your family members, for, you know, because you want to make sure that everyone's secure and taken care of, or you're setting yourself up for the future and like connecting in with your community. And that's an important piece of like what you're up to, right? So this could very much be about that. But ultimately, this is about what are you creating? Like, it feels like there's a focus, there is a pull for your attention to look at what are you creating that is going to stand the test of time? What are you creating that's going to provide or create some kind of stability or security for the future? And I think it's actually also a very abundant card. It's definitely, you know, an auspicious card, I might say. And so we round out the last third of the month with the High Priestess card. And you know, what I love about the High Priestess card is that she is incredibly intuitive and she is able to hold both the, like all polarities of life, light and dark, you know, from one side of the spectrum to the other. And the only reason she's not tossed asunder from here to there is because her grounding resides in her ability to tap into and trust her intuition. The only reason she can trust her intuition is because she's able to recognize and understand what is her intuition and what differentiates that from the chaos of the world. The only way that you can really know that is to be in a meditative state of sorts, to be, we could say even more than that, maybe more accurately said, to be present, right? So someone who is really present to how you feel, what's happening, and the reality of things, not your stories. And when you're able to really be grounded in that, there is a level of knowingness and ability to trust your instincts, your gut instincts, your intuition in making decisions and going forward with what you're creating. So I feel like this is kind of like cliffhanger vibes. Like we have like this build up to the end of this month, and then we're like moving into like, oh, how does the story actually continue? Which I don't get very often in these monthly videos, but I like this because I feel like it is a continuation, and that feels very accurate for what we've got going on astrologically. If I didn't mention it before, I don't think I did. I will be putting out the astrological highlights video, but unfortunately, I think it's going to be coming out a little bit later than I intended, and I'm pretty far behind with things at the moment, mainly because of, well, we can talk about that anyway. So we look at the challenge that's coming up, and it's like feeling like, I think there are going to be points where you're feeling like there's a lack of clarity, right? So when we're looking at the challenge for the month, because we're only looking at one challenge card, we're looking at what's going to be like a common thread, right? A theme that runs through this month that's going to rear its head in maybe different ways, different faces that that show you a particular challenge. And I think there's going to be this feeling of like a lack of clarity. Like, why can't I just get the clarity like that I need? You know, I just want to be able to see things clearly. And, you know, I think just trust that it might take a little bit of time to move through that. You know, on the 3rd, Venus stations direct. on the 15th. Mercury stations direct, but we'll still have other outer planets that are retrograde, which isn't actually as uncommon as not as uncommon as people might think. It's something that people, I think, blow out of proportion. Like, several planets go retrograde every single year for a period of time. It's just that when it happens at the same time like this, it's like, yeah, it can create this slowness, which is annoying. And I think also, honestly, really necessary. So there might be feeling like, oh, I feel like there's a lack of the kind of clarity that I need, the precision and piercing kind of clarity that I need to be able to move things forward in the way that I would like to, especially related to the 10 of Laurels, and maybe even with getting the clarity that you need for your, your intuitive hits, right? Whatever that looks like for you. Whether you're someone who is, quote unquote, you feel is intuitive or not, we all are on some level, right? So what kind of advice is actually coming through for you, which is the Lover's card. Right. And so mistakenly, it's thought that the Lover's card has to do with love, not necessarily. So the Lover's card is more so about the kind of connections that we have in life, and but the ones that are more mature relationships that we have with people. And that can be friendships, that can be family, that can be a lover, that can be a lot of different things. But it is this way in which we connect with certain people where they work with their strengths, we work with our strengths, and we build each other up in such a way that we are able to create something together that is greater than what we would have been able to create just by ourselves. And so there is this kind of like, hey, you're being pointed towards looking at what kinds of, like, where is this a part of your life? Are there people that are available to you that, where you guys could work together to create something that's going to stand the test of time, something that feels this kind of inviting, like hearth home nourishing kind of vibe that is communal maybe, or that is in your neighborhood, or that is local, or whatever it is that feels like, okay, we're creating something that is greater than what I could have created on my own. And if you're not someone who's like super communal, totally good. No shade on that. Like, we're not all meant to be that way. Although some people, I think, probably have that opinion. I don't think that that's necessarily true. But this could be for, like, as you're building towards whatever this standing the test of time dream that you have for the future of what would be secure and safe and stable for you in the future is, perhaps for a period of time there is this working with others in a way that is like allowing the strengths to come together and put together the pieces so that there are stepping stones to create the foundation for what it is that you really want to build. So I hope that makes sense to you. Like I said, I have the bi-weekly videos that just came out from the full blue moon on the 30th of August to the 14th for the new moon, so in Virgo, and so in tropical astrology. So I would say like those are like 5-minute on average videos, so maybe go check that out if you want to get like another piece of this and kind of go like, okay, so this is the larger context. What is like something that is more short term for an approximate 2-week period of time that I can work with? I would say go check that out. I mean, honestly, like I said, if you really want to know specifically, you're like, I need to know about my situation, I'd be like, okay, cool, go check out the one-to-one readings. So yeah, I hope that this was helpful. I hope it provided some kind of insight for you that felt valuable, gave you a message of some kind that is helpful. So if it did, please give the video a like. It does help me with finding favor with the algorithm gods. And also, if while you're there, might as well subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of these videos that I put out on the horizon, especially as I continue to create other things, which now that looks like it's going to be later in the year. So also, you might see in the description box, just to explain, my dad's GoFundMe. He's 83, starting over from scratch after losing everything in the Lahaina fires. And I'm not accustomed to putting things like this, promoting things like this out there. However, I just want to put out there, if you feel called or so inclined to share it with like your community and feel like you would like to, put it out there so that other people might be able to help him and contribute, that would be lovely. If not, no shade, no worries, and just putting it out there. So trying to help my dad. So Anyway, I will see you in the next video. Thank you for being here. Bye.